It is a strange kind of exhaustion, the kind that settles deep in your bones after your heart has been broken not once, not twice, but 18 times. Each ending felt like a small death, a tiny universe collapsing inside me. I was tired, so deeply tired of starting over, of believing in something only to watch it crumble into dust. The pain wasn't just sadness, it was a physical weight, a heavy cloak I couldn't take off. It felt like a sickness, a kind of brain rot where every thought circled back to the loss, the failure, the ghost of a person who was no longer there. The world kept spinning, but I was stuck, replaying the final scenes on a loop, searching for an answer that never came. Betrayal is a thief. It doesn't just take your love or your time, it steals your sense of reality. It makes you question everything you thought was true. I had invested my emotions, my trust, my future plans into these people. It was like putting all my money into a business that was secretly designed to fail. And when it did, they just walked away with the profits, leaving me with nothing but debt. They took my confidence and left me emotionally bankrupt. The worst part wasn't just the loss itself, but the feeling of foolishness, of having been played for a fool 18 times in a row. How could I have been so wrong, so many times? The question haunted me. Each relationship was a gamble I was sure I would win. I would go all in, placing my bets on shared laughter, late-night conversations, and promises of forever. I ignored the warning signs, the red flags that fluttered in my peripheral vision. I thought my love was enough to change the odds. But love isn't a game of chance you can win with hope alone. It's a game where the other player can just decide to walk away from the table, taking all the chips with them. I was left sitting there staring at an empty table with empty hands and an even emptier heart, wondering why I kept playing a game I was so clearly losing. The accumulation of these losses felt like a prison sentence. Each heartbreak added another year to my term, another lock on the door. My mind became a cell and the memories were the bars. I was trapped with the ghosts of who I used to be and who they pretended to be. The pain wasn't a single event. It was a long, drawn-out punishment for the crime of being too hopeful, of loving too openly. It was a slow, grinding process that wore me down until I could barely remember what it felt like to be free. I was serving time for crimes I didn't commit, just for being the one who was left behind. It was the speed that hurt the most. How quickly they moved on. It was as if our time together meant nothing at all. While I was still sifting through the wreckage, trying to piece together what went wrong, they were already posting pictures with someone new, smiling, happy. It was a brutal public display of my own insignificance. My grief was a heavy, slow-moving fog, but their new lives were bright and sunny. The contrast was a constant stabbing pain. It made me feel like I was just a chapter in their book, one they had finished reading and quickly forgotten, while for me, the story was my entire world. The injustice of it all fueled a quiet, simmering anger. How could they be okay? How could they just erase me? It felt like a robbery where the thief not only took all your possessions but then paraded them down the street, celebrating their good fortune. They had my memories, my jokes, my favorite songs, and they were sharing them with someone else. I was left with the emotional bill for a dinner we both ate. They skipped out on the check, leaving me to pay for everything with my sanity and my tears. That unfairness was a poison that seeped into every corner of my mind. I would scroll through their lives online, a masochistic ritual of self-torture. It was a compulsion I couldn't stop. Each happy photo was another twist of the knife. I felt like a ghost haunting their new reality, invisible and irrelevant. They were living in the present, building a future while I was chained to a past they had effortlessly discarded. The frustration was immense. I wanted to scream, to ask them, "Did it mean anything to you at all?" But I knew the answer. The answer was in their silence, in their easy smiles, in the simple, brutal fact that they were gone. This cycle of pain and anger was exhausting. I was living in a prison built from their indifference. The walls were made of their quick recovery and the guards were my own obsessive thoughts. I was the warden and the sole inmate of my own misery. I kept myself locked inside, rereading old messages, analyzing old photos, searching for clues to a mystery that was already solved. The mystery was simple. They didn't care anymore. And my refusal to accept that was the very thing that was keeping me trapped. The heartache wasn't just from the breakup, it was from my inability to escape the echo of it. There comes a point when emotion is no longer a reliable guide. My heart had led me into the same trap 18 times. It was a faulty compass, always pointing toward pain. It kept telling me to hope, to feel, to remember. But remembering was killing me. Feeling was a constant state of agony. Hope was a lie I kept telling myself. So I decided to do something different. I decided to stop listening to my heart. I decided to listen to my brain instead. It was a conscious choice, a turning point born not of inspiration but of sheer, desperate exhaustion. My feelings were the problem, so logic had to be the solution. My brain knew the truth. The brain is a calculator. It deals in facts and patterns. And the pattern was clear. The investment was bad, the game was rigged, the sentence was unjust. My brain told me, "You have lost enough. It is time to cut your losses." It was a cold, hard, financial decision applied to the messy business of the heart. My emotions screamed in protest. They wanted to wallow, to grieve, to cling to the wreckage. But my brain, my calm, rational brain simply said, "No, this is illogical, this is self-destructive, we are stopping this now." And for the first time, I listened. It was a strange feeling to prioritize logic over love. We are taught that the heart wants what it wants, that love is a mysterious force beyond our control. But that thinking had turned me into a victim of my own feelings. I decided to take back control. My brain told me that holding on to pain from someone who doesn't care is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. It's pointless. It's draining. You will only end up empty. The logical choice is to put the bucket down and walk away. It is not about being cold or unfeeling, it is about self-preservation. It is about choosing to survive. So I began to treat my emotions like data. When a wave of sadness hit, my brain would analyze it. This feeling is a chemical reaction triggered by a memory. It is not reality. The person causing this pain is no longer a factor in your life. Therefore, this feeling is based on outdated information. It sounds clinical, it sounds robotic, but it was the only way to break the spell. By dissecting the pain, by reducing it to a set of logical propositions, I started to strip it of its power. I was using my mind to heal my heart. It was a slow, deliberate process of rebuilding myself, one logical thought at a time. Trusting your own judgment after it has failed you so many times is a difficult task. It's like learning to walk again after a bad fall. You are wobbly, uncertain, and terrified of falling again. But my brain wasn't the part that had failed me. My unchecked emotions were. My brain was the one that saw the patterns, that recognized the danger. It had been trying to warn me all along, but I had silenced it with hope and romanticism. Now, I was finally letting it speak. I started to trust its quiet, rational voice. "This is not good for you," it would say. And I would listen. "Walk away," it would whisper. And I would walk. This wasn't about building walls or closing myself off from the world. It was about installing a better security system. It was about learning to be my own gatekeeper. My brain became the filter through which all emotional information had to pass. It checked for red flags, for inconsistencies, for the familiar signs of a bad investment. It was about making conscious decisions about who to let into my life, instead of being swept away by a tide of feeling. I was no longer a passive participant in my own life. I was the one in charge, the one making the calls, trusting my own capacity for reason. The freedom that comes from this is profound. It is the feeling of walking out of a prison you didn't even realize you had the key to. The ghosts of the past began to fade. The brain rot started to heal. The world, which had been gray and muted, slowly began to regain its color. There are still moments, of course, memories that flicker at the edge of my thoughts, but now, they don't have the power to pull me back under. My brain simply categorizes them as past and files them away. They are just data points, lessons learned, not open wounds. Breaking free is a choice. It is the decision to stop being a prisoner of your own history. It is the realization that you are not defined by the people who hurt you, but by your decision to move on from them. It is about trusting your own mind to lead you out of the darkness. The past is a place you can learn from, but you don't have to live there. Today is September 3rd, 2025. It is a new day. And my brain tells me logically that there are countless more to come. And that is a fact worth holding on to. It is a reason to keep going. It is a reason to stay alive.